Through most of these Sundays of this current liturgical year, we'll be hearing from the Gospel of Mark. As you know, there are 4 Gospels in the New Testament. Mark is the shortest of those 4. It's probably also the earliest one that was written, somewhere around 70 A.D. But despite the fact that Mark is the shortest, and his use of Greek in the original language that he wrote it in was a little awkward because you could tell it was not his native language, there is great theological depth to be found in the reading of Mark's Gospel. I oftentimes, when asked, Father, I'd like to read the Bible, how shall I do it? And I say, well, don't start by reading page 1 and go all the way to the end. You'll get discouraged after a while. Start off simple. Start with Mark's Gospel. It's a perfect place to begin when we read the sacred scriptures, and you can easily read Mark's Gospel almost in one sitting. But in this current year, we'll be hearing pretty much all of it on all these Sundays. Now, anytime we approach the Gospels, whether it be Mark or Matthew or Luke or John, we always have to remember that there are always 2 levels of operation. The first level is the easiest one of all, and it's sort of the way our lives work as well. There's the level of just at what's happening. We just heard details of an event in Mark's Gospel. Jesus went to Simon Peter's house to preach there. Simon Peter's mother-in-law was sick with a fever. Jesus healed her, and then she proceeded to wait on all of them. Jesus preached there in the house. Afterwards, before the sun came up early in the morning, Jesus went way off out into a lonely place to pray to his Father. And then the apostles and others sought him out and found him and said, Lord, why are you just sitting here doing nothing, so to speak? You got a lot of work to do. People are wanting you to come back. And then Jesus says, well, I've got lots of other places to visit as well. So that's what happens on the surface. That's the details of the story. That's one level, and that's an important level. We want to know the details of what happened. But now there's that second level, which is very important. It's the depth, something that our society has long lost because we tend to function only on the superficial level. We no longer have that depth anymore of reflection and seeing how things affect us, not just in the immediate moment, but in the long term. And I think that's why our society is so messed up right now, is because we react to everything on the surface. If it feels good, then it's okay. If it doesn't feel good, then it shouldn't be allowed. That's how we work, and that's not good. That's not Christian. But the Gospels are bidding us and are inviting us to go into a deeper level as well. Now, just on this Gospel that we just heard, I could probably speak another couple of hours. Don't worry, I won't. But just one thing always strikes me in this Gospel story, and it is our lesson of the day, and hopefully for the week, and maybe really for the rest of our life. The fact that Jesus, who is fully God as well as fully man, that Jesus, fully God, found the need to pray. Now, if the Son of God has to pray, and he prays often, it bids the other question, all the more reason why we need to pray. If the Son of God has to pray, we weak human beings all the more desperately need to pray. Now, I'm sure if I ask the question to anybody in a crowd, how many of us pray, everybody will raise their hands. But how many of us pray the way we're supposed to pray, which means we pray with depth, We pray frequently, every day. It's part of our routine. It's like everything else that we do in our day. We have set things that must be done, and prayer must be one of those things. It's not an option. And suddenly a lot of hands start going down. Prayer is not an easy thing in one sense. It's hard when we have to get it to become a routine. But once it is there, once it is in place, once it is a fixture of my day that is necessary and needed, and if I don't do it, I miss it tremendously, then prayer becomes easy. So we need to pray. We need to pray hard. We need to pray every day. And as we well know, the way our world is today, there is much to be praying about. We need God's help desperately. So, my friends, pray.